What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norin Red89 here, bringing you another video, and we already did my favorite and best horror of 2024. And this one, I don't want to call necessarily this list the worst of 2024. It's not really what it is. This is kind of just a disappointing list. There are some films on here that I had high hopes for, and they totally missed the mark. There's some on here that I kind of knew going into it what I was going to sign myself up for, and they basically did exactly what I thought they were going to do. And then there's others that they missed the mark because of it wasn't my vibe or my style. So today, and there's not that many. I think for horror films in 2024, we did very, very well. So this isn't like a 10 like I did my best of. There was 10 plus 3 honorable mentions. For this list, there's only 7 films that we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into the disappointing films of 2024 for horror films. Roll it. And this list isn't in any particular order or anything like that, but I want to start off right away with one of the films that came out in January, and it was a typical January horror film, and that's Night Swim. This is a Blumhouse film about basically a haunted pool. A lot of people kind of take this as akin to The Ring 2, that this is kind of just like a ripoff of The Ring 2, but Night Swim is one of those films that literally after I watched it, I think I forgot about this film in like 2 days. I forgot almost everything about this film. It was that bad. It's not really, doesn't offer anything. It literally is kind of a rehash of like Amityville horror mixed with The Ring 2. And then we have some awful acting in here and just like some bland performances. So yeah, Night Swim, like I said, is one of those films that once you watch it, it's forgettable. Next up, we have Afraid, and this was the John Cho horror film that came out this year, and this one's kind of like Smart House. I don't know if you remember that. I think that was like a Disney Channel movie back in the day. Very similar to that. We have Aya in here, who is an AI, and that John Cho's family gets gifted this AI to kind of test it out as the first people that really get to test out Aya, and this film is just cringeworthy beyond belief. And it was one of those films that as it was going on, I actually can't believe they got some of the actors and actresses that are in here to be in this film. And then once we get to the third act and you find out what is like the wrap up and what happens, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, really, what the like, are we supposed to be scared of this thing? Are we supposed to fear Aya? Is she our friend? We're supposed to accept her? Like, it's so confusing. It is literally one of those films that is just straight trash. And like, so yeah, Afraid, definitely one of the worst of 2024. Next up, we have Destroy All Neighbors, which is a Josh Forbes film and actually stars Alex Winter. And this is the prime example of one of those films that the comedy did not land for me at all. I can find it where some people, like, there's an audience for this film, for real. This is one of those films that does have an audience out there. I'm just not that person. And the lead protagonist, I can't stand that actor, the character. I just don't like the portrayal, anything like that. And I can get into movies where I don't need to have characters that I like, but this film hinders its fact on that you love the comedy, you like the dynamics, and we have this lead protagonist character who's a failed kind of musician who's trying to make like the greatest album ever and stuff, and has a girlfriend who wants him to kind of grow up, wants him to kind of move on, and then he like slowly creepy stuff starts to happen when he accidentally kills one of his neighbors, and then they start becoming members of his band. And it's just, yeah, for me, the comedy, everything in this film just went whoosh, right over my head, and I was just like, yeah, it wasn't my vibe at all. Next up, we have one that I knew going into this film that this was going to be trash. I didn't want to just think about it. I was trying to go in and be like, oh, maybe they're going to show me something new. I like Rennie Harlan. He's a good director, and like maybe I should trust him. But I knew once they came up with the idea for this, and it's Strangers Chapter 1, that I knew it was going to fail for real. And like, that's because The Strangers, we lived in a perfect world where we had The Strangers and we had The Strangers Pray at Night. We didn't need any more. There was champions of both films, and there's people that love both of those films, or like I said, champion either one. We didn't need any more, and they decided to go Strangers Chapter 1, and they greenlit 2 sequels to it right off the bat before Strangers Chapter 1 even hit the theaters, and we physically saw this film. So I knew right off the bat that this was not going to be a good idea, and going to the theaters to see this film was an awful idea. I definitely wish I can get my money back for this one. Next up, we have The Watchers, which is Ishana Shyamalan's film, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, and what the fuck? Like this is one of those films that I could appreciate it because for the first 25 minutes, for the first 30 minutes, I was invested. We have Dakota Fanning in here playing an artist who's trying to transport, I believe it's like this rare bird or something like that, and end up trapped in the woods in Ireland, ends up with three strangers in this kind of facility where they're locked in there, but they're kind of spied on every night by these creatures. And this is the one of those films. I don't want to spoil anything just in case people do want to go out and see these movies. Like I said, they're like, you might be a fan of these films. Who knows? But for me, The Watchers is just really one of those films that once you think about it and you get to the third act, it completely unravels. So after the end of this film, and I like kind of logically started thinking about the stuff that they were answering or the answers they gave us to the questions they brought up in the film, this is one of those films that just falls flat on its face for real. Like logically, this film is totally bullshit. So that's why I can't do this one, The Watchers, because like I said, as I sat there thinking about it, all the answers they gave us to the questions, like I said, I didn't hate the reveal. It's just when you logically think about some of the stuff they explain about this building and how it became to fruition and the stuff, it makes no freaking sense at all. Next up, we have I Saw the TV Glow, which is a A24 film, and this is the prime example of one of those films that it kind of missed the mark for me. I am a sucker for A24. I absolutely love their films, so when it comes to A24, I eat up their stuff. Pretty much, it's once in a while they don't nail it for me, and I Saw the TV Glow was one of those ones, and I can tell I understand what this film's trying to do. It's really about finding oneself and the struggles with understanding yourself and finding, your own people and everything like that, and really discovering that side of yourself, because there's some great performances in here. I don't want to knock that. There's some really good performances in here, but damn, I don't want to ever hear the Pink Opaque again. Besides that, like I said, I Saw the TV Glow. It's just, I understand there's an audience for this film, and it missed the mark for me. This is one of those films that I don't view this as a horror film. This is more of a thriller or a drama type film to me. I don't view this as a horror film, so that's a prime example of why it's on this disappointing list, because I had people talking this film up, and like I said, this is part of my problem too, because I'm such a sucker for A24. I went in with very, very high hopes on this one, and it just let me down completely. Now we're gonna end this video with one that might get me in a little bit of trouble as well. I know there's a couple on here. I have some friends that are gonna be like hitting me up like, what's wrong with you? Did we watch the same movie? Like, what are you talking about? So this is another one that is a prime example, because there's somebody in my house that feels the exact different way of me. My wife was down for this movie. I wasn't, and it's Long Legs, and this is probably one of the biggest ones. This is directed by Osgood Perkins, and this is one of the biggest letdowns for me, because I'm such a Nicolas Cage fan. I like Micah Monroe, and I love the detective thriller kind of noir setting type stuff. Like, I'm so down for that. But when I watched Long Legs, I couldn't help but think that it's literally just a greatest hits of Seven and, Silence of the Lambs and Zodiac. A lot of people have brought up those three films when they talk about this film, when they talk about Long Legs, because Long Legs is literally just those three films mashed together, and it's trying to be a greatest hits of all three of those films. And that's what really sucks about this film for me, is when I watch Long Legs, the whole time I was sitting there just thinking, oh, I would rather watch Zodiac. I would rather watch Silence of the Lambs or Seven, because all three of those films did this very similar story, but better. So that's why Long Legs didn't land for me. And I know this one, let's said, might be controversial, because there's somebody in my household, my wife totally had fun with this film. She thought Nicolas Cage's performance was great, and she took the movie for more of just its face value. Didn't try to dive deep into the lore or anything, or try to figure out any mystical stuff that was going on, or dissect any images. Like, my wife just took it for the detective thriller that it was, and she enjoyed it. And like I said, as I was watching it the whole time, I was just like, this is literally just Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac, and Seven greatest hits, and I'd rather watch any one of those films than Long Legs. But these are just my thoughts and my opinions, and like I said, on the disappointing films that let me down this year, please feel free to discuss down below or share your thoughts on these movies, because I know there are fans of these movies, and I do want to give some of these a second shot. Like I Saw the TV Glow and Long Legs are two films, two clear-cut ones that I want to give a second shot to. Night Swim could go fuck itself. Afraid, I will never watch that again. Destroy All Neighbors, clear-cut, I just don't jive with that comedy, and I'm not going to feel for that. Strangers Chapter 1, I might give it another chance when Chapter 2 comes out. We'll see. And The Watchers, like I said, that's one of those films that just, it falls flat on its face with the logic and stuff like that. So I don't think I'll rewatch that one. But Long Legs and I Saw the TV Glow, I actually might rewatch those eventually just to see if my feelings change on it, knowing where the film's going to go. But please like the video. That definitely helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video. But most importantly, I want y'all to have a safe and happy day. Peace out.